They're golden, they're flaky, and they've got more buttery layers than a Hollywood divorce. But here's the thing. That perfect butter croissant you grab with your morning coffee, it didn't start in a cozy French bakery. It was born in the heart of the American food industry, inside a fully automated mega factory. From tons of flour to industrial freezers colder than Alaska in January. Today, we're going inside the secretive world of how millions of butter croissants are made. Welcome to the croissant industry process. It all starts with precision. The heart of the butter croissant is the dough, and this factory treats it like a science. Flour comes in by the ton, stored in stainless steel silos the size of small houses. Every hour, a computer-controlled system pulls the perfect amount into a mixer, along with water, salt, sugar, yeast, and a splash of milk. This isn't your grandma's kitchen. We're talking planetary mixers spinning with over 200 horsepower. Why? Because croissant dough isn't just about mixing, it's about developing gluten strength. The stronger the gluten net, the taller and flakier the final product. After 8 minutes of mixing, the dough comes out as a giant, sticky cloud. Soft, but structured. Once the dough comes out of the industrial mixer, warm, elastic, and slightly sticky, it's not rushed into the next phase. Nope. Now it needs time to rest and rise. The dough is divided into manageable blocks and transferred into temperature-controlled bins. Imagine massive stainless steel tubs lined up like cars on a dealership lot. Inside the warm, humid room, the yeast comes alive. And we're not talking about random bubbling, we're talking about microbial alchemy. The yeast feeds on natural sugars of the flour and starts releasing carbon dioxide. The gas gets trapped inside the dough's gluten structure, creating thousands of tiny air bubbles. What's happening here isn't just about rise, it's about flavor. See, during this fermentation period, anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, complex chemical reactions start taking place. Acids form, enzymes break down proteins. That soft, slightly tangy background taste in a real butter croissant? This is where it's born. The room is kept at just the right temperature, around 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Too cold and fermentation slows to a crawl. Too hot, and the butter in the dough starts to melt prematurely. And that's a disaster for lamination. After the rest, the dough is visibly puffier. It's gained elasticity, developed flavor, and is now strong enough to take on the next challenge. Now comes the most iconic step, lamination. This is where the dough gets layered with pure creamy butter, not margarine, not shortening, real dairy butter. We're talking high-fat, European-style butter that holds up to intense baking temps and gives croissants that signature flavor and flake. A massive block of dough is flattened into a sheet, and a slab of butter the size of a carry-on suitcase is laid right in the middle. Then, it's folded like a letter and run through a laminator, basically a giant roller coaster for dough. Fold, roll, chill, repeat. By the time it's done, this dough has been folded and rolled up 4 times, creating over 80 delicate layers of alternating butter and dough. Think about that. You bite into one croissant, and your teeth are snapping through 80 buttery layers. After lamination, this dough is a work of art, layered with butter, chilled to perfection, and rolled out to the ideal thickness. Now it's time to shape the croissant. And this phase is all about geometry, mechanics, and speed. First, the dough sheet, now stretched out to nearly the length of a pickup truck, is fed into an automated cutting line. Sharp rotary blades slice it into a perfect series of isosceles triangles. Not too wide, not too narrow. That shape matters because it determines how many rolls you can make, how evenly the croissant bakes, and how the final curl will hold. Each triangle glides down a conveyor belt where robotic arms take over. Now this isn't random rolling. These bots apply just the right pressure at the base and gently stretch the tip, rolling the dough into a tight spiral that forms that classic crescent. They even tuck the end slightly inward to give it a fuller, more traditional French look when it bakes. Want to know how efficient this process is? A single production line can roll up to 20,000 croissants per hour. That's 5 or 6 croissants every second, flawlessly formed. Some factories even have adjustments for different shapes: mini croissants, filled ones, chocolate sticks. But the classic crescent, that's the crown jewel. And here's a fun fact: if you unroll one of these dough spirals, it would stretch over a foot long. But once it curls, it bakes into that rich, compact, layered perfection. With thousands now shaped and lined up like buttery soldiers, the next step is key. Shaped, but still sleepy. Now it's time for the proofing chamber. Basically a dough spa. Inside, the temp is set around 85 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity. This lets the yeast wake back up and get back to work inflating each croissant with tiny air pockets. Over 45 minutes, they double in size. Soft, jiggly, full of promise. This is a delicate balance. Too long, and the butter starts to melt. Too short, and they'll bake dense, like dinner rolls. Now we bring the heat. Each tray heads into a massive tunnel oven stretching over 100 feet long. Temperature? A toasty 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake time? Just 15 minutes. Inside, the butter steams, lifting the layers apart. This is where the magic happens. Layers separate, puff up, and turn golden brown. By the time they exit the oven, you've got croissants that are crispy on the outside, pillow soft on the inside, and smelling like heaven's bakery. Fresh out of the oven, they're piping hot, so they're transferred to a cooling spiral, a vertical conveyor that slowly cools each croissant over 20 minutes, letting the crust firm up without going soggy. At this stage, human eyes and hands take over. Quality control specialists inspect for color, size, cracks, anything that might ruin that perfect bite. Croissants that don't pass? They're recycled into breadcrumb or compost. Nothing goes to waste. Depending on the end goal, croissants either go to packaging or to blast freezers. Some are shipped to cafés and hotels frozen and unbaked, ready for fresh baking on site. Others are fully baked, cooled, and sealed into gas-flushed bags to stay fresh for weeks on grocery shelves. The packaging is fully automated. Machines weigh, sort, bag, and seal croissants by the thousands per hour. This is industrial baking at its finest. So, the next time you're tearing into a buttery croissant at your kitchen table, just remember the journey it took to get there. From a ton of flour and butter slabs the size of car batteries, to over 80 flaky layers baked with industrial precision, this isn't just breakfast. It's the result of engineering, chemistry, and a whole lot of butter. This is how America makes its croissants. Welcome to the food industry. Enjoyed that buttery breakdown? Smash that like button, subscribe for more factory food stories, and drop a comment. What should we cover next? This is Food Industry, where your favorite foods meet the machines that make them.